If you're a runner, chances are at some point you're going to start to experience some knee pain. So these are some of the most common things that we'll assess here in our clinic at Moment Physical Therapy to help you alleviate those knee issues. First thing that we always look at is going to be the programming. If the programming isn't right, it doesn't matter what kind of mobility or strength exercises that you include. Because if your programming is ramping up your mileage too quick and you're never really giving yourself weeks where it's lower mileage, your bones, muscles, and tendons don't have adequate time to adapt. So when we talk about programming, I'm typically going to have a down week every 4 to 6 weeks. And we're going to use even numbers like this to make it a little bit easier to conceptualize. So let's say it's week 1, I'm doing 10 miles for the week. Week 2, I'm doing 12. Week 3, I'm doing 14. And week 4, I'm doing 16. On week 5, right, which is going to be the second month, I'm going to take that second week that I had, which is 12, and I'm going to start off week 1, I'll do 12, 14, 16, 18. Then the following month, I'm going to do 14, 16, 18, 20, and I keep rinsing and repeating this process. But the goal is to always have a week every 4 to 6 weeks that's going to be lower mileage. If you're constantly making progress and adding more miles to your program without having these down weeks, it can easily lead to overuse injuries, and that can manifest into knee pain. The first thing that we always check off when we're looking at runners is going to be the foot and ankle. The foot is the first thing that hits the ground, and they've done a really cool research study in 1987, and it showed that every single time the foot hit the ground while they're doing a treadmill run, about 50% of those forces were stored as potential energy in your foot and ankle complex and utilized as kinetic energy to move you forward. So there's a lot of stress that can be taken off your knee, your hip, and your back if you optimize your foot and ankle function. So one thing that we look at is going to be the single leg calf raise. It's a super simple test. You're going to stand on an elevated surface like this, and I want you to keep your knees straight. You're going to come up to the top, slowly lower your heel to the bottom, come back up like so. And we're looking for about 30 repetitions here without you having to unlock your knee, without you having to shift your forward or do anything funky. Just nice, clean movements coming up and down. There's a lot of times people will feel the need to almost lean forward, and that's going to help them lift their heel off the ground. But you want to be as upright as possible as you're going through these calf raises. If you're in your 20s and 30s, the normative ranges that we're looking for is about 30 repetitions without stopping. That number is going to increase as you age, but any patient that walks through our door, we hold them to 30 because that's going to help them essentially feel like they're 20 and 30 again. So 30 single leg calf raises, heel has to get below the level of the surface, and then you have to come straight back up. 1 second down, 1 second up, 30 repetitions without breaking. The second exercise is going to be another calf raise variation. We can train the calves with a straight leg. We can also train the legs with a bent knee. Now, typically what we thought was when we bent the knee, we would challenge the soleus, right? Because the gastroc muscle crosses between the ankle and the knee. So if I bend the knee, it puts the gastroc on a little bit of a slack, and you would bias the soleus muscle. The research actually shown that you get great activation for the gastroc and the soleus with a straight leg, higher than you would with the bent knee. The reason why we still train a bent knee position is because you're gonna see this bent knee position all the time as you go into your runs. When you step and you hit the ground, the knee slightly bends and then it locks out so that your hips can come through at the top. And this is a position that you're gonna see all the time. So we'd like to train it and expose our runners to this position. Similar thought process to the straight leg raise is slight bend in the knee. We're gonna come up and down this way. I don't want the knee to just travel forward by itself. I actually want my shoulders to move up. So it should be less of like this Michael Jackson move and more of this up and down movement that occurs. And we're looking for 30 repetitions there. A lot of people will struggle to get 30 repetitions from the beginning, and that's perfectly fine, right? If you're someone that's dealing with knee pain, these are all exercises that you can include into your cross training, into your warm-up to slowly build more resilience in the foot and ankle complex. As we start to address the foot and the ankle, we're gonna start to work up the chain, and the next thing that we have to look at, again, if you're a runner dealing with knee pain, is to actually look at the knee itself. A super simple way to start to load the knee is just gonna be the single leg wall sit variation. And what we'll typically do is we'll keep our upper back and lower back flat against the wall, and we'll slide down about like a partial squat. And we're gonna work on holding and stabilizing this for about 45 to 60 seconds. If that's really tough for you to do, you can always start with 2 legs. And if 2 legs is too easy, but single leg is too tough, you can keep 1 leg out in front of you and kind of go with the staggered stance position. When the 45 to 60 seconds gets easy, you can hold something in the goblet rack, whether it's a kettlebell or a dumbbell. And the beautiful thing about long duration isometrics is that it can provide a lot of nice pain relief for a short period of time. There's been a lot of patients of mine who will be able to hold a long duration isometric and get relief for a couple of hours. So this can be something great to plug in before your runs. But if you notice that the side that is currently injured is only able to hold it for like 15 seconds before it starts to burn like crazy, and an uninjured side, you can do it for about 60 seconds and it's not that bad of a problem, there's probably some sort of strength deficit that you have to bridge side to side. So if you already manage a program, hit the foot and ankle, and you're starting to introduce the isos to your quads, the other things that we have to start to introduce is going to be some more dynamic loading. As you start to run uphill, right, when you run uphill, you're putting more stress to your foot and ankle complex. As you start to run downhill, you're actually putting more stress to your knee and patellofemoral joint. So a simple exercise that I like to utilize is the forward step down. You're just going to step on an aerobic riser like this, and you can increase it if this is easy. And you're just gonna do a forward tap, come back up. If that's easy, you can challenge your base of support a little bit more by reaching that left leg a little bit further. We're looking for about 15 quality repetitions before I start to move to something like a 6 to 10 rep range, utilizing, again, another weight and goblet. So if I can do 15 reps like this, no problem. What I'll start to do is I'll grab a weight and I'll start to make it heavier so that it requires me to fatigue at about that 6 to 10 rep range, which is building more strength than those higher rep ranges. But this is a great way to start to build more resilience in a knee in a more dynamic fashion. The last thing we need to do is to actually introduce some sort of jumping or plyometric into the program. So what we're doing when we're running is we're essentially just bouncing from one leg to the other in a very cyclical fashion. So what we need to be able to do is start to transfer the things that we're getting from a strength training aspect into something that's more dynamic and more mimics what you're going to see in terms of forces with running. So what I like to utilize is just going to be a single leg pogo hop. And if we're just bouncing up and down like this, I'm looking for about 30 seconds without you feeling like you're losing height, without you feeling like some sort of shin splints or knee pain is coming in. Most people can't do this for 30 seconds when they've been in pain or experiencing some sort of knee pain. So we got to build it up. If bouncing on a single leg is really, really tough, you can always start on double leg. And as double leg gets easier, you can stagger one leg versus the other, shift most of your weight to that front leg, and then eventually get to the point where you can do it on a single leg. I usually start with about 30 contacts initially and add 5 to 10 contacts. Every single workout is tolerated until we build up to about 60 to 90 contacts. But I want you to be able to use a metronome essentially and hit about 150 beats per minute. When we think about stride frequency in runners, most runners kind of fall between a 160 to 180 range. So being able to do this at 150 beats per minute with any kind of metronome app on your phone for 30 seconds, what's gonna allow you to run more efficiently, and it's also gonna build just more resilience in your whole body. So definitely include this after you've managed the foot and ankle and you've gotten the knees in place. There's so many reasons why someone could be experiencing knee pain. This video has covered a few of those things. Other things to look for is gonna be rotation at the shin. Maybe we might even look at the hip and the pelvis and the rib cage. The options are endless, but if this video has pointed out certain asymmetries or deficits that you have, I would highly recommend including those into your program. If you're looking for something a little bit more comprehensive, we help people all the time, whether it's people that are just running their first 5K to people that run marathons, people that run ultra marathons, and people that even compete in the Olympics. We've got you covered. So if you're looking for something a little bit more specific, check out the link in the description and book your first session with us at Moment.